हमारी है बस
हमारी हमारी
हाँ
हाँ
is it on
That's हमारी
हाँ
If you're struggling in math, then it's very difficult, I'd say.
yeah Nick please come here
Okay. So I'm going on camera.
yeah please okay you can use this. This is great. Okay. So how long have you been coming to this class?
Last 2 years.
For the last 2 years. Okay, very good. And what sort of job do you want to go into after high school?
So
Mm. So it's
I want like engineering job.
so you want to do engineering. So maths and physics, are those your two main subjects in chemistry? Fantastic. And what's your name? Sarah. What and have you thought about what you might want to study at university? MBBS, MBBS, MBBS. Very good, very good. That's fantastic. And so that's is in India, is that 5 year course or a 6 year course? 5 years. 5.5. Yeah, I think it's the same in the UK. In most countries, I think it's 5 years. Maybe I think in America, it's about it's for usually the M class is a bit shorter, but then there is another bonus year. That's the thing because the first year is often like it's almost like a taster year to sort of get you into it. What's your name, sir?
Shuman.
Shuma.
That's Shuman.
S
It's spelled SOMOY, SHO.
Shmoy.
SHOMO.
Oh, Shomi.
Shumoy.
Shimoy. What do you and what do you want to go and study in university?
Right.
Medical. That's MBBS. Fantastic. Is everybody here thinking of going to university? Everyone?
MIT.
Hmm?
MIT.
MIT. MIT in America.
No.
Oh right. Okay, right. Yeah, because that's MIT is that the very top university in the world, is the one in America. Well, what I do is I am an IELTS teacher. Well, I teach English as well, but I'm also a recruitment consultant to help students that want to go and study in different countries. I understand it can be quite expensive studying as an international student. So most of the people that I work with are usually master's students. So that's when you've done your bachelor's and you do
Waiting.
it's a lot cheaper because it's a lot shorter, right? And especially in the UK, where I'm from, it's a lot cheaper because the master's courses are only 1 year long, whereas in most countries, a master's course will take you 2 years to complete. So, yeah, so I've just come in to speak with Sir and to see how you guys work. And yeah, I'm interested to see because I'm looking to build on my IELTS and PTE training. So I thought I'd learn from the very best with Manjeet. Sorry, do they call you Sir, Manjeet, sir?
Yes.
What do students address you as?
What?
How do students address you? Are you?
In Hindi only.
Yeah, I see. Are you Mr. Kumar or Manjeet?
Yes.
Hmm.
So they all are brilliant students,
I can
and
tell. Yeah.
after 10th class, maybe they will go in IIT for or MBBS.
Hmm.
So
Certainly.
please guide him for what is the difference between Indian MBBS and what is the difference between UK and US like that.
Oh well. So the course is slightly shorter in the UK, I suppose, but I mean, people are people. You working, you're going to be studying a lot of the same things, so it's um it's it's a lot of the same stuff. I don't know enough about the Indian MBBS to be able to say what the differences are, but I imagine it's all about making people feel better, and
Difficulty,
people need the same thing. Yeah.
difficulty level is very high in India compared
Mm,
to yeah, the US.
definitely. There's definitely a lot more competition in India than in the UK, that's for sure. Which is why quite a lot of people come into the UK to study it.
And it's curious that although Indian system is very difficult, like
Hmm.
it's very tough for a person to go to higher universities in India. For example, AIMS Delhi. It's like the top 20 students only go there. But like I believe that is less in the rank in the worldwide ranking.
Hmm.
The worst university of UK is probably way higher than AIMS.
I'm not sure about the worst university in the UK,
No, no, no.
um, but yes, it's
Why?
Why? Well, because it's going to be a lot more affordable, a lot more pocket friendly to go to the Delhi University. Not just because Indian universities are lower priced than UK universities, even though that is the case, but international students will pay an extra premium compared to domestic students. So it's popular for people that just want to go into being a doctor and to get all of the right qualifications. But because you don't need to pay the extra money.
Yeah,
I mean, as long as you do, because a lot of when it comes to MBBS, it is a bit of luck in terms of who is teaching you and what kind of a rapport you have. And so if you have a good rapport with your teacher, you're going to learn extremely well and probably learn just as well in India as you would do in the UK for an MBBS. India's famous for having lots of the world's brilliant doctors, and so there's a good chance you'll get a great teacher in Delhi. Um, but yeah, so I think the reason why it's so popular, I suppose, and so competitive is because people are opting to do that, even if they can afford to go to UK or USA. There isn't that for MBBS. There isn't that dire need to go to a different country to study it. If you can find a good university that provides a good course in India. Um, but it is probably the most. Is it the most popular course to study in India? I know a lot of the students that come to me, I don't get many MBBS students because most of the MBBS students stay in India.
engineering, CA, and business.
Engineering, business, and CA, and what was the other one? Sorry. Oh, law. Law is very popular as well.
Also.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So anything business related is very, very popular. And engineering, you're right.
And
Yes.
what is the use of English in IELTS examination? Suppose they are getting good marks in IELTS examination, then how much scholarship they are getting?
Um, there's always a minimum requirement for IELTS. You need to get like a 7.5 in order to qualify for scholarships. Different universities have different requirements for their scholarships, so it's always important to check their websites, um, or even just check with your whichever agency you're applying through. They'll fastidiously look through the scholarships to try and ensure you get the best one possible.
So if I want to apply to a broad university, what should the portfolio be like? So I get good preferences to get accepted in the university.
So universities want to see a well-rounded individual. They want to see someone that has diverse interests, but also just interests that will kind of make sense with what you want to study. So, for example, if you're someone that wants to study, if you want to study like IT, if you're somebody that like engages in hackathons at your school, or if you're someone that is doing coding and part time, or maybe you read literature, like certain sci-fi literature that's to deal with like systems, then these things are going to look really good on your profile. Universities expect people to write a personal statement, which is around 4,000 characters long, so maybe an average of about 900 to 800 words. And that's where you're going to talk about your extracurricular activities. And instead of just talking about a list of like 20 different activities you do, just try and narrow it down to three or four that are going to be impressive and are going to be of interest. Then they also want to know about supercurricular activities. Has anyone here heard of what supercurricular is? It's like extracurricular, but supercurricular is specifically about academics, but it's about engaging in topics that your school hasn't taught you. So let's say, for example, you're doing English literature in school. What do you guys do English literature at school? Is that a subject? No, not really.
Not really. We have a particular syllabus to learn, and we have.
I see. Well, let's say you do English in school, right? Um, so if you listing 10 academic books or really good fiction books or even non-fiction books, that will count as super curricular. So that shows that you're someone that doesn't just do the bare minimum that your school expects you to do. You're also going deeper and reading around a topic, which is really important for MBBS as well, because I'm sure your teachers have probably told you when they're teaching you biology or things, they might say, this is true, but this isn't actually true. They say that, right? That used to drive me mad when I was in school. And I thought, I'll give up. I'm not doing biology. I'm teaching me lies. I'm not going to. So, which is always makes me laugh when I see people saying, when they talk about sort of basic things like, oh, I knew this when I was 7. I was like, well, I think I trust the doctor. What 7-year-old do you believe? Yeah. Um, So they want to see supercurricular as well as extracurricular activities. Um, and yeah, it's essentially, the grades are just one bit of the pie. As long as you've got the grades that they require, then it's about showing how well-rounded an individual you are. Um, Obviously, the more higher ranked universities, the more hoops there are to jump through. But so do you know what the best universities in the world are? Who can name Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College London? So you're right. Yeah, most of the top universities, NYU is quite good, but it's not top. Um, Columbus is a very well respected. John Hopkins, very good. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, most of the top universities in the world are in America and in the UK, and even then, it's quite condensed. So most of the UK top universities are sort of in London or just outside of London. I mean, Oxford is about maybe a 2 hour drive away from London, which is pretty close, I guess, from India perspective. And then you have America. Most of the top universities are in Pennsylvania, so like on the east coast, on the east side of it. Yeah, Boston. That's right. Hmm. Yeah, so Boston. I don't know if it's the capital of Pennsylvania, but it's right there in Pennsylvania. Yeah, so that's those are the top universities to go through, and there's a wealth of sort of things to check off and to ensure you've accomplished in order to be given a chance of admission.
Obviously, like I wanted to develop my soft skills as in like uh, I want to talk better in English because to be, I want to say that I was born in Canada.
Oh, really?
I came to India when I was 3 and 4. I forgot how I speak English. So like I want to apply in foreign universities.
Hmm.
If I actually want to, I really need to develop my soft skills for a thing. I am very afraid of public speaking.
Right. Yeah, some people say that's even more scary than death. Yes.
If I have to, I can speak, but I would really avoid crowds. So
Mhm.
plus that, and also like basically, moreover, speaking English and communication. Communication is very. I'm very bad at
Yeah.
communicating what I do.
Well, the important thing to know is that you're very young, and I think most people your age are terrified of public speaking. Um, and does anyone here feel comfortable public speaking? You could be honest. I'll be.
I've done it a few times.
Yeah. And
Not
it's,
that much nervous. First, when you do it for the first time, you feel a bit nervous.
yeah.
But if you start doing it again and again, you don't feel that much.
Absolutely. You just get used to it. And
Yeah.
it's not like you care less about other people's opinions, but you just feel more comfortable in that sort of realm. That's right. And yeah, and the less you're paranoid or worried about what other people are thinking, the more better you can perform and the more you can focus on what you need to say and what you need to do. And again, it also does come with practice as well because you gain more knowledge and experience from just from life itself and from maybe watching other brilliant speakers as well and you can you have more things to talk about. So, for example, if you do get a bit more nervous, sometimes I get a bit nervous when I'm talking in front of people, um, but because of the experience I've had, I've got more ammunition in my head of things I can talk about. So, if I do get nervous, yes, I might forget some important things that I want to say, but you've got many more important things to say. So, building up a good vocabulary, and building up some really strong ideas of the things you're interested in talking about can really help as well, and it can help you it can buy you time as well. So let's say you have something that you've forgotten. If you haven't got lots of things to talk about, you might stutter and just think, oh, what do I say? What do I say? But if you've got lots of things to talk about, you can just move on from the thing you really wanted to say, just focus on the other areas. And then by that time, after a bit of time, you get more comfortable. That thing you wanted to say might come back. And so the audience might be completely unaware that you were stuttering or stammering and forgetting what you wanted to say and things. So yeah, practice makes perfect. Practicing in front of a mirror makes perfect sense as well. You know, everyone's got should feel comfortable looking at themselves and thinking it's not about loving yourself and thinking, oh, I'm beautiful, but it's about just look at yourself and think, yeah, I'm worthy. I'm I deserve to be up on that stage because I've earned that place, and people deserve to hear what I have to say. I think sometimes just practicing in front of the mirror can be really helpful as well to help you feel more composed and for you to have a bit more self-awareness as well. Self-awareness is a really important trait. that employers are going to be looking for in the future. Um, in the past, in the last like 100 years or so, 50 years, IQ has been seen as such an important thing. People always, some people are obsessed with IQ. I think Donald Trump is always like, I've got an IQ of 142. And he's like, but IQ isn't as important. It is important, and this is what we're here to do. But what employers are really going to be looking for is emotional intelligence, your EI or EQ. Um, so that's where the soft skills come in, the self-awareness comes in, emotional regulation comes in. So just think, and also this time, these things again will get easier with time. But it's important to understand that sometimes people assume, oh, my emotional regulation will just get better when I get older. But for some people, it actually gets worse because it's a skill you have to keep training yourself. And I see it so many times in workplaces where someone might say something just a bit rude or a bit short with somebody, because they're stressed about deadlines they have to meet, and when someone else is meeting your standards, you might just say something a bit rash, or you might just throw something a bit harsh on there. It might say something harsh their way. Um, but that's not in a really strong company. You want to find ways to basically, if someone is not if someone is not performing to the right standard, you got to figure out how angry to be with them. How in what way you should be angry with them, at what time you might need to be angry with them. Because maybe you're angry with them, but maybe they've got a valid excuse for not performing well. Maybe their dog has passed away or something like that, and so maybe you don't want to be angry with them at the time. So these are all parts of emotional intelligence, being able to figure out what the bigger picture is, um, and also just be able to help things run more smoothly. Because we are very social, emotional beings. I think it's important to remember that, as well as being extremely intelligent beings. And so this whole package comes into it. The reason why I'm saying that EQ is going to take over IQ in terms of importance, I think it's because of the rise in AI. So people are going to be using AI so much more in the future, and they are right now. And I think a lot of companies and a lot of entrepreneurs, the ones that are using AI effectively are the ones that are separating themselves and are being cut above the ones that aren't using AI. Um, because it can do a lot of the thinking for you, which is another thing we need to be careful of because it can make our brains lazy. And so we need to work with AI in a really responsible way to to help as an educational tool, but also to help keep our mental resilience as well. Because I do worry about your generation really using AI and not having the mental fortitude to do problem solving yourself. Because if there might be a time where AI won't be as effective or might not be there anymore, and we still need those skills. So yeah, soft skills are something that I do work on a lot with my students as well. Really, and it helps you just go into life with a lot more ease as well, not just professionally, but in your personal life as well. Soft skills are super, super important.
And I want to ask you about body language. So, how do you develop body language? Because I don't know that what the other person think if I show him this, he might in his language it might be. I'm giving an instance.
Yeah, so
Right?
so
So
there's
how?
well, there's cultural competency in things. There's like knowing which is acceptable, which isn't. Like for example, that I think that is pretty much universally accepted. I don't know actually about which. I mean, I think in most cultures, pointing is always quite rude. Um, so people when you might point, you might point like this. I think that's like an open palm is a good way to point, like so this way. In fact, I didn't go to Eton College. Has anyone here heard of Eton College? It's a really prestigious private school in the UK. Actually, close to where I went, close to the town that I'm from. I used to go to some events there, and it always struck me, especially as an adult, when I'd speak to the students there, and you could tell they'd had been very polished on all their soft skills and all their etiquette. And every time you pointed at anything, he would just say, like, it would be like this. And it was strange seeing someone like maybe a couple of years younger than you guys even just have those sort of very polished and very confident of skills of he was directing us around where showing us where the washrooms were and things, and he was like, this way, sir. It's like, wow, you're only like 13 and you just all these little polished skills. So yeah, learning knowing just basically you think it comes down to empathy. If you can imagine, think about what's made you comfortable or who has made you more comfortable, who is a really inspirational person, and just try and study their body language, study the things that they do. I've had a few people in my life who I always think, what would they do in this situation, or how would they respond? And if I've had a bad day, Sometimes I'll just maybe might even call them up and just tell them how the day went and just sort of trying to get find out what their take is on it and things. Um, so yeah, I think yeah, body language is important. About it's almost as important as the words we actually say when it comes to communicating. You can be a really good speaker, but if you're making yourself small and if you don't have the good facial expression, if your facial expressions don't believe what you're saying, people aren't going to engage. You know, you might only have about 20% of people listening to you. But if you know, have wider eyes, maybe raise your eyebrows for certain things, it's amazing. For some speakers, sometimes I just forget what they're saying. I just agree with everything they're saying because their facial expressions are so. It's almost like their facial expressions are saying, like, everything I'm saying is correct and it's exciting. It's like a smile and an eyebrow raise. These things can make a really huge difference. So watching people that inspire you and learning their body language can be really important as well. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt your class.
Suppose there are so many students here. Suppose one student are getting 6 points in IELTS and another is getting 8 bands.
Yes.
So this it depends on the bands also. Scholarship depends on bands also.
It's a good question. I haven't, not that I've heard of. No, I think after getting a 7.5, it's kind of just a point of pride, I suppose. Um, and it might put you on certain radars for at the university. They say, oh, this person got an 8 or a 9, because it is quite rare for a student to get an 8 or a 9, because normally those students that are at 8 or a 9 quality, they're usually someone that has studied in English at school anyway, and they might even get a waiver. Because if you've a lot of universities will not require IELTS if you can prove that you've studied in English throughout your high school and you got a good English score in your CBSE. So CBSE is in class 10. What do you take in and in 12?
Yeah,
I see. What's the name difference? Do they have a name difference?
yes.
So so am I right in saying so the exams you're going to be taking next week, are they going to be contributing to your university admission?
But yes, in Indian system, there are special exams. For example, for medical, there is NEET, and for engineering, JEE. Indian universities only see that result, but if you want to apply to foreign universities, they only see the CDSE. Like most
Interesting.
12th grade. Yeah,
Yeah.
12th and 10th grade is complementary. If you got good friend, you know.
So if you let's say you flop these exams completely, what could be the consequence? Could you not get in? Could the school might not keep you on?
You will get the chance in the university rather than a person who has percentages on.
I see.
So in India, there are three segment is very famous. Suppose IIT is very famous, but according to QS ranking, if you will see, it is around 180. World ranking. But there are 15 lakhs students are appearing every year, and 15,000 seats are available.
Wow.
So difficulty level is very high.
Hmm.
Difficulty level is very high, and according to UK, US, Canada, so there are not this much competition is there.
No, that's right. I mean, India is just such a big country, I suppose, and it's
Yeah.
and
So
such a good and there's such a strong academia sort of culture in India as well. I say more so than most countries. It's funny. I think the two countries that have the sort of the stereotype of having strong academics is China and India, and they're the two biggest countries as well. So, um, so it's bound to be competitive. And I haven't visited enough universities of not enough of the best ones in India at so far, but I don't know, I'm not sure what it is that separates them. I guess it's having a big diverse international community can really add to a university's ranking, I suppose, because diversity does bring like a lot of strengths. It brings a wealth of experience, a wealth of perspectives, which can help. Infrastructure, I guess, do the universities invest a lot of money into their infrastructure? So I know that, for example, one of our partner universities in the UK has recently invested £20 million, which I guess that's 20 crore rupees, or maybe 200 crore rupees into a new building and things. I don't know how often do Indian universities tend to invest hundreds of crore, tens of crores into their. I see.
I believe 1 crore will be the maximum investment.
1 crore, and so forgive me, 1 crore is 100 million, or yeah, 100 million.
Yeah,
Or is a crore 100 million or 10 million? It's 10 million. And a lakh is 10,
100,000.
it's 100,000. That's where I get confused. So a lakh is 100,000, crore is 10 million. So 10 million rupees, that would be about, that would be 100,000 pounds. So yeah, so that's significantly less than the investments that a lot of the Western universities are putting in. But that's because they get a lot more money, I suppose. Yeah, they get government funding um, as well as the student fees funding as well. And they do partnership and they work with lots of big businesses as well that want to sponsor them so that they can send them their brightest and best students to be interns for them. So I think a lot of it comes down to money at the moment. And I mean, it's an exciting century for India. I wonder in the next 50 years if there'll be a government that will put massive investment into the universities because it could be really important, I think, because it's I think one thing that could be holding India back is brain drain. Lots of brilliant minds in India are moving to America and Australia and the UK and things. So that could be something that maybe India might want to invest in the future. Is
Education, education, especially. The education system is like very bad. So
old
it's
fashioned, yes.
it's a more of a like you reach this level after that stay stuck. Like in foreign university, actually they push you like go to your absolute limits.
It's mostly based on theoretical.
Yeah,
Practical work is not good.
they put a cap
This is
on it.
it. Not enough hands-on learning. And this, mm,
Science, the only like no, the engineering, doctor.
I see. Yeah, so and I guess a lot is because a lot of parents are pushing people towards these things as well. You're right.
In UK, suppose you like mathematics and history, so you can take there. But in
Mm.
India, it is not possible. Okay.
And so it's a shame because I think, especially when I mean, there's not just arts that are other ones as well. I think arts isn't respected enough.
Yeah,
And it seems like, and this is a problem I think in the UK as well at the moment, increasingly, but it's a very privileged minority that are getting to experience the arts and to go into it. I think if you go look at Bollywood stars, most of them come from pretty rich families already, don't they? Because their parents, they didn't have to worry about them failing in this very ambitious industry. Um, this is my problem with nepotism. Nepotism.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very. It's a real issue. I think, especially in the arts in the UK now, which is a real shame because art is brilliant when you have different perspectives. And if you're just focusing on a very, the richest 1% perspective, it's going to be very similar.
It's like if you in UK if you go to arts, you can be okay. You are a creative student. You will push like you are a good student. You can go to arts, whatever you do. But in India, if you go to arts, they will think that you are a bad student. You failed the exams. And then the ideology is also there. Like,
Yeah.
There are stereotypes.
Yeah,
IQ level is very less. That's why you're taking arts paper.
That's right.
History.
But there's so many skills that you can go into as long as you're keeping things interested in, because arts can really build confidence as well. And confidence is something that's so key. I mean, look at some people, especially in America, a lot of them, all they have is confidence. It's just, they haven't done that much studying. The knowledge isn't there, but they can, yeah, the way they can hold a room, they can walk into a room and just, um, yeah, and because I think that's the main thing that the American education system privileges. It's not the main thing, but a really big thing they focus on more than any other country is building self-esteem and building confidence. Which is why you'll find someone saying like, "You're the best." Like you could ask them, "What are you the best at?" Just, "We're the best." That's all you know. That's all you need to know. Yeah.
Suppose after the secondary examination, the higher secondary examination, what is the eligibility process with the foreign university? So that will be easy or Indian university will be easy. Indian university is already tough, already average.
it's very tough. It's
Very tough. In 30 lakhs students, they will take around 10,000 students for
10,000.
MBBS, like that.
Really? Right.
Yeah. So what is the process for Oxford and like that Imperial Cambridge? Very costly. It is around 1.5 years.
In number, they are very less as compared to in engineering college, private.
And the people are not here on the post to go happening on, so that's why the
Mm. Okay. So what was the question? It was,
So is after suppose after second higher secondary exam, they want to go UP or US,
yeah,
right? So I think Cambridge Oxford will be easy compared to India for
really?
take admission.
Well, I'm not sure about Oxford and Cambridge because well,
But Indian students are thinking that they are very tough.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I suppose let me think. Let me remember the numbers. So for Imperial College London, for example, because I was helping someone do a bachelor's there. Imperial College London for a bachelor's has about a 12% acceptance rate. What is that? That sounds quite similar to. I suppose that's quite similar to some of the MBBS courses here. So you're saying 15 lakhs apply and only 15,000 get in, and
India government college fees is around 50 under 50K 50,000.
mhm.
But in private college it is 1 CR plus. Full package is 1 CR plus,
Wow.
and quality is also not good.
No, yeah. So this is the thing.
Quality is
It's
also
this.
not
I do get quite a few MBBSs, especially for Australia. I think the best country in the world for MBBS might be Australia. They and also I think certainly the best place for a starting salary for a doctor, in the public sphere is Australia. Even in the UK, we're losing a lot of our best doctors in the country because they want to go to Australia and earn a fair wage. Because yeah, it can be it's quite it's I think it's a real travesty, some of the how doctors are being treated in the UK. They're getting paid far less than someone that really doesn't offer that much to society, and after 5-6 years of studying and things like that, so they're not getting a some of them are barely getting a wage that they can go on holidays and things like that. And you expect the doctor to be able to have at least 2 holidays a year and be able to afford their own property within a few years and things. But it's so I think a lot of people are going to countries like Australia, maybe Canada, where they're making a lot easier, a lot more. You're getting the sort of the lifestyle you would expect to get with it as a doctor. What are the starting salaries for a doctor in India?
Government doctor salary is initially it is around 40 to 50,000 per month.
40 to
Only 40
50,
to 50,000 government doctor
40 to
salary.
50,000 rupees per month. Really? Yeah, that's.
And after completing your masters and specialization, then you are working in any hospital. Then they will give some 1.5 2 lakh like that. But maybe if you pay 20 years or 25 years, then you can start your own hospitals. Then you
Mm,
can otherwise not possible.
I see.
Like the main earning point is around like 40 to 50 years. When you get that point, you can call yourself experienced, and then you can advertise yourself as a very experienced doctor, very specialized doctor. Then you'll get maybe
Prime is raised.
then you get the
50 years, the prime is raised.
Mm.
The
If you
capacity.
have capital amount, then you can start a hospital buildings like that. But you
basically
don't
yeah,
have
at
that.
that age you will get the same salary as a US. You can
Wow. And it takes basically 40 years to get to that stage.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
But in the UK, nursing staff salary is around 45 lakhs.
Yeah, that's right. So a nurse in the UK,
50 lakhs.
so a starting nurse gets paid more than a
Nursing
starting doctor. So this is why, yeah, nursing is super popular.
very famous in UK.
Hmm.
And after that, you can do 3 years course for MBBS only. In UK, if you have nursing degree, so in 3 years you can complete MBBS
Mm.
in UK.
Wow.
My question is that if one is not able to decide any career option for him or herself, so and can you suggest any tips or tricks so he she not gets confused?
Um, okay, well, this is where I think AI can come into it. You can use it as like a kind of a counselor yourself
AI should be used in a good way,
in
but
a good
people
way.
are now nowadays using the bad.
Tell me
So
what to
that
write.
is
Yeah, it is like write an essay
nice
for me. Terrible
person
thing.
that we approach. But my question is that if you are confusing any career option, so how can you
So
choose?
I think this is where you need to do a bit of self-reflecting, and say, what things that really drive me. What do I love to do? What things have made me excited? What my favorite? What subjects, or what topics in school really excited me, and got that fire burning within me
But
about
sometimes
what I
also
would like to do.
that salary or scope is not that much, so it makes me confused a lot. It confuses me a lot.
What the salary for an engineer?
And
Or
for any other
Hmm.
any other
Actually, everybody is asking about
So,
what is the salary.
let's
That
see.
course will be good.
Well, so you want to be earning. Yeah, this is the other question. You need to figure out how expensive life is going to be. And also figuring out how expensive life is going to be in 10 years' time is also quite difficult as well. Um, so I think you maybe look at if you want to stay in India, do some research into what are the top, what jobs in India will pay me, a salary of, let's say, three,
1.5.
three, 1.5 lakhs a month. 1.5 lakhs, or, yeah, or 2 lakhs a month, something like that. That's a good starting. That's a good starting salary for a young person in India. Yeah. So look at which of those careers, and
That's why we're starting.
then give it more information.
That is very rare. Right?
Very rare to start on 2 lakhs a month. Oh yeah, two
From 1 lakh, I think it's very rare. It will be
one
very
lakh.
rare.
In the average salary is around in lower level you can in outer side 10 to 15,000. Little bit upper layer 30, 40,000 average salary.
Mm,
30, 40. If you have 10 year, 20 years, then you will get around 1 lakh, more than 1 lakh.
yeah. So yeah, so you want to think about what's maybe look in 10 years' time what you'd like to be earning, something that will help you be able to afford and put a deposit onto a house and things like that. Um, and then just think about what subjects you're best at. Think about also think about what subjects excite you as well. Um, if you're business minded, sometimes maybe if you want to go into business, that means the harder you work, the more money you'll earn, hopefully. Whereas if you're a salaried employee, you'll have to wait for promotions to earn more money and things like that. So if you've got a very strong entrepreneurial or innovative mind, then maybe you might want to think about how you can incorporate your academics knowledge into a business idea. Um, so yeah, but I think just going at the moment, you're on the right path. You're in a class full of very bright individuals, and what you're one yourself, and you're working hard at your studies. Just keep working, focus on building a bigger picture of yourself. Don't just do like the generic, playing PlayStation or things like that. No, keep that stuff to a minimum. Yeah, keep doing, joining clubs, doing activities that make you an interesting person. Try to read every night as well, because it also will just help you be a healthier person. I forget this sometimes. I'm back in a stage now where before bed I won't watch that last one more TV show of what I was watching. I'll sit in bed and read for half an hour, and it's just super relaxing. Makes you sleep better. And makes you have more interesting things to say. So yeah, try and read as much as you can, and um, and even journaling as well. I think journaling is really important to help you boost your self awareness. It's really good for your mental health as well. So help get ideas onto paper, and then you can just rip it up. You know, rip it up a lot of times if your parents are quite snoopy, maybe, maybe, or set it on fire. But yeah, just writing something with your hand and then throwing it away. These things can help just build your self awareness and build a picture of help you understand who you are and what you want to be. So it's a little bit like meditation journaling, but it's with a bit more action to it because you're writing. Um, so I think, yeah, that just doing these processes now, that you are all quite young. You're 15, 14,
15,
yeah,
16.
15. So yeah, you've still got time. You've got at least like 1/8 of your life. As an eighth of your life so far added on to figure out what you want to do at university and things. Um, yeah, and I think hopefully your schools are showing you careers fairs or anything like that. And you might get public speakers in and things.
Mhm.
Um, there's plenty of industries that are good to work in. Even if you can get your foot in the door early on as a business that's going to have a really inspiring leader, you can learn a lot from them, and they can show you how they got to where they are, and maybe you can follow in their footsteps, or at least take some ideas from them to follow in your careers as well.
One student is asking this question on YouTube.
All right. Oh, we're live on YouTube. I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
How can Indian universities improve their standards to match Oxford and Cambridge? Oof, that is a tough one. I think that's what every university in the world is asking themselves at the moment. Um, I mean, I think it's about getting the clientele. I think the sad thing, I think it's just down to money. I think the reason why I think Oxford and Cambridge, they also have that reputation. They're extremely old universities. Oxford University is nearly 1,000 years old now. So they've got that rich heritage, and so but they're also going to pay their lecturers and their staff a lot more money than Indian universities are. So they're going to be able to attract a lot of the brightest and best as well. So if the Indian universities can get lots of funding so that they can afford to bring in some of the best talent from around the world, or can afford to keep the best talent from around the world, because remember, a lot of Indian top lecturers might decide to leave India and go to Cambridge and Oxford to lecture there and things. then that's one thing they can do. Um, but that's a real tough question. How can they improve their standards to match? It's I guess you can learn from them as well. I think also actually, yeah, like we were talking about earlier, employing some more practical learning experiences as well. So that that again that would require more investing in infrastructure and a whole different chain, a different way of looking at pedagogy. So pedagogy is the methods we use to teach. So rather than just saying, here is what I'm saying, write this down. Here is what I'm saying again, write that down again. That's a very old-fashioned way of teaching. But getting people to experience, doing more experiential learning, and having more diverse ways of teaching that way, that would also help um, Indian universities, get onto the level closer to Oxford and Cambridge. Did you have a question?
Yeah, in India, many universities focus on academics. As a student preparing to go for outside abroad studying, we have to focus on our developing skills. But the next 2 years, if we want to have a backup option, if we don't get accepted in abroad universities, we have to have backup options in India. So, how do we develop skills in next 2 years when we have to prepare the most for the coming exams, which will decide our life, our careers? How do we develop skills
Mm.
in the meantime that we are preparing for this? Because most Indian students they have a daily routine of waking up early in the morning, studying, going to their coachings and stuff. Then they come back, they eat food, they self study. They don't get much time to focus on themselves. Like they don't get to develop skills because they don't have that much time. MUNs and stuff, it is very rare for students in grade 11th and 12th doing like the PCB or PCM, physics, chemistry, maths, and biology. These students who are doing these subjects don't get very much time to themselves to develop their skills. So, what should we do? How should we manage that time to get skills acquired in the meantime? It's about the school policies.
School policy and sometimes your parents' policies as well.
It all depends on education policy, government
Mm.
policy. This is
Even though India has tried to improve their education policies, like introduce new subjects, give more choices, but most of the schools are not very much up to date to the policy. They are still believing in the old traditional methods of teaching. You may change the policy, but you can never change the mindset. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly what you said.
I
The
see.
mindset is very stereotypical of the only bigger subjects. Only STEM students are the best. Yeah. Rest. Others are just
never get a job.
byproducts of the
in
world.
India, suppose you have maths and physics of chemistry, then you are good student, otherwise nothing.
This is it because these are the jobs that definitely will pay. Yeah.
Basically, if you're not a STEM student, you're basically unemployed.
It's for
The
example,
same.
you get 95%, 97% width in and you are in PCM or PCB. You are a very good student. Then you are in arts, you get the same. Then you are like, oh, you are in arts, you get this. No.
It's not the
Not
same.
much. 100%. If you're 100% arts, you're arts
I
student.
see. Well, then it's, I guess, a matter of how much you how much do you care about other people's opinions, I suppose. As long as you're very confident in what you're doing and um and you want to be the best in whatever you're doing, then I think you're on the right track.
Alright.
If you're someone that cares, if you're going to worry about what other people think about what your results
Time management.
and type,
Skills.
but then yours is a question of time management. You're right. Sometimes there just aren't enough hours in the day. I guess this is a question that you might need to. It's the kind of question you need to have with the family, to sort of to let them know that that's what passions you want. Because you're right, as I was saying, a lot of universities in UK and US want to see a well-rounded person, not just someone who is burying their head in books 24/7. Um, you've also got to be realistic and you know understand that you are only human at the end of the day. You're not there is a limit to how much you can study and cram just into one day. So having a routine, a healthy routine where maybe you're studying for 45 minutes and taking a half an hour break, studying for another 45 minutes, half an hour break, 45 minutes, half an hour break. That's a case of that's about 4 hours, and that's what I've just described there. And you've in that 4 hours, you've had you've had about 2.5 hours worth of solid studying, and then about and time for break. You think that's being kinder to yourself. You're not just focusing on one thing, and sometimes losing your mind and sometimes ruminating on the same idea rather than moving on and and gaining a perspective on it.
Another student is telling that India has talent, but the corruption is more.
Ooh, yeah.
The same thing happened. So,
Yeah, I think there is corruption everywhere, and yeah, it's good to I think it's good to call that out when you see it, definitely, because it's it's never going to change unless people are calling it out, and then the more people calling it out, the more people might take action against it. Because yeah, I think a lot of people just aren't aware of corruption. There was this, in the UK, I think people would often look at other countries, particularly countries or developing nations. I call them recovering nations because I think it's a bit insulting to say India's a developing nation because it's been there for civilization for thousands of years. It's not developing; it's recovering from another country we won't mention. Um, uh, but um, but yeah, so a lot of people in Britain will say how there's a lot of corruption in Africa, a lot of corruption in India. But I think this is a deflection. There's corruption in the UK as well. There's corruption everywhere, and it's so important to call it out. Um, and just to think about what is a fair is the world as fair as it can be? It's never going to be a fair world, but could we make it a lot fairer? Absolutely, we can. And I think a lot of it does come down to corruption. You know, money.
honest, like if you are hearing cases of corruption from India and Africa, even if their democracy is way better because you get to know that their corruption is happening because
Yeah,
corruption is everywhere. I think Britain is not a good democracy because you can't find it out. You can't figure out where is the corruption.
well, I think a real issue in India, coming from a British person, is there's a huge disparity in wealth in India. I think actually, if you compare it into if England when England was similar, I think England might have been similar in terms of the poverty, wealth disparity, maybe about 150 years ago in the Victorian era. There was even though the UK or England was probably the richest country in the world about 150 years ago, there was mass poverty. There would be plenty of open defecation. There would be hardly anyone would have a clean running water and things, and sickness and diseases everywhere. Um, and that's I think what even if the country isn't as powerful as it was now, it's the quality of life is significantly improved for everybody. Even because I can't imagine how fun it would have been for a rich person in the UK at this time because you can't just freely walk around and enjoy everywhere because most places would be filled with infestation, diseases, and things like that. And it would, and then it causes more division in society. Rich people wouldn't want to go anywhere near poor people, and I think it's not conducive to a fair society. We're moving on very much from academics here. We've gone very from academics to really talking about the world's biggest
My
problems.
last question is suppose after 12th examination, 12th,
Yes.
they want to go a Cambridge or Oxford. So what will be the admission process, application process?
To go to Oxford, for example,
Or
so you need to you go on the website, you apply, you start preparing for their admissions tests. So they have about 30 different admissions tests for all the various different courses that they do. And I would say straight away, try and do those admissions tests straight away. They have them online. They got critical thinking admissions tests. They've got mathematics thinking tests. That could be quite a fun exercise maybe to do as a class, the maths ones. Um, and just think if these are something that you think you can do within the time frame, then then you might be the right kind of candidate. Um, you've also got to think about what is going to be in your personal statement. So you need to have around 80% of the things you write in your personal statement need to be about academics, and then about 20% is around sort of extra interest you have or the context of who you are. Because they want to know, if if you've had some real strife in your life, don't lean on it too much, but do mention it because it adds context to who you are as a person. It might show you that you're a resilient person. It might show that you are a very compassionate person, depending on what the context is, what this like sort of it could be an anecdote or it could be a significant life event that's maybe could have held you back, but you persevered and you've gone through. You've also got to think just a lot for an interview as well. They're all expected to interview you.
Psych evaluation in the admission test.
A psych evaluation? How do you
Like
mean by a psych evaluation?
there's a questionnaire based on our personality. Like they ask us to be if we believe that we are narcissistic or not. If we believe that we might be self confident or
There won't be a psych test. No, that's I mean that's a is that what Indian universities
no,
progress now? I see. Right.
Never. We have an opinion on ourselves, and if they and if the people around us agree with it or not. So self-awareness,
I
as
see.
if you say.
That might be an exercise in a psychology class or something, or
Take
if you're the only one that gets that piece of paper, then yeah, I'd be worried. But yeah, it's like this is just for you. We've we've been having some discussions as a staff, and we think you need this.
and
Um,
money.
no. Well,
Fees is also
so yeah, as a non-citizen of the country, you'll end up paying about twice as much or three times as much in academic fees.
Yeah.
But but no,
international I think nothing.
I mean, this is an internal issue, I think. If it's a university that is struggling for money, then maybe they might opt for the international student. But a student like, so a university at Oxford and Cambridge are just going to go for who they think is the best candidate. Yeah.
Yeah, specific universities for animation.
There are some universities. It's one that we recently partnered with at my company, Falmouth University in England, in Cornwall. They're a creative arts university. There are plenty of like creative arts universities that would be really good for animation.
Can I do them after completing my UG from it?
Yeah, a master's course would be ideal, I think. Yes. So you do in the UK, it's about a 1 year to maybe 18-month course. Um, in America, it's about 2-year course. But yeah, definitely, I think that's a really good idea.
What do they ask for in application forms? Like, do I have to submit a project of mine? Maybe.
It depends on the university, but yes, I think that's something you could definitely mention in your personal statements. It will add credence to your application to show them some of your works and things. There's certain creative arts courses will say there's a limit. Like only send us 3 or 5 pieces of work. So yeah, and then in your personal statement you could talk about them a little bit more. But yeah, so yeah, that's definitely recommended to show them what you've produced in the past as well.
Experience, what is it? What's the name of the company?
Meridian Overseas. I'll see what I got.
No.
Oh, you know Meridian Overseas? Oh, yes.
I have given one.
I see. Yeah, we prepared them well.
Also.
So we're in Vaishali Nagar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you,
Everybody knows.
oh, we're very good. Yeah, good.
Almost every day.
You cross it every day. Oh, right.
Oh,
Well,
I travel that route almost every day. So
on Vaishali Mark. Yeah.
see the
Vaishali- Vaishali-
Is there a bookstore nearby?
I think so. Is it Vaishali also? Is it here?
No, not
Near National.
in Gurudwara. That is national and now.
All of it. So, but
Perfect.
I know one video.
So oh, thank you. So my advice to you guys is just that keep going, keep up with your studies. Mm, I mean, certainly no worry that you're not working hard. I trust you're all working really hard and you're trying to be the best you can be. Just be aware of addictions and things because there's so many more addictions these days that like phones, television,
No, they are all
screens.
toppers.
Yeah,
They are toppers.
but just try not to fall into it. Set yourself if you are someone that does like a little bit of screen time, just set yourself limits and just don't get lost in them because it can just they call it brain rot, don't they? But I think it's more just time rot. It's not worthwhile. You don't feel you don't feel much better after going on it and things. But it can just really sap your time away. And also it's not good for your eyes as well, obviously. But reading books as much as you can just makes you a much more interesting person. And it's going to help you strike conversations with more interesting people as well and bounce interesting ideas off each other. Collaboration is one of the most effective things that we do as a species. I don't think there's many other animals out there that can collaborate as well as we can. So we've got to lean on that skill. Basically, I think a lot of success in this world is leaning on the skills that make us the superior animal in this planet. So our skills of collaboration, our social skills. It's again, and then also our skills of being able to empathize and see things from people's perspectives. These things help us go a long, long way, especially as a doctor as well, or as a business person as well. So there's just try and think about the things that make us unique as a species, and then just try and lean into those skills. So that's what is going to set us apart from people within our own species as well, because these are all skills that we can keep nurturing and nurturing.
Another student is asking, India is a developing country, but every big international company has its CEO as an Indian.
Hey, very true. How do you explain that? That's it. Well, because of yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to hard work. And you're right. If they're international companies, you can't necessarily blame it on nepotism, can you? Because yeah, who's the CEO of Google? So Sundar Pichai, Sundar Hai. Was he born in South India, North India?
No, actually, he is from South India
Yeah.
and he studied in Manipal University.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Yeah, so I guess that's a lot of it is hard work. India has an amazing work ethic.
India has so much talent.
That's right. So India's got talent. It's got but it has a fantastic work ethic. I think from the richest people, the poor people, I see people working hard everywhere. Even if even people that are living quite comfortably and from quite good good families. I find that so cringy when people Indians say that. Oh, he's from a good family. What do you mean by good? Oh, they got money. Okay, that just it's like well off. I think we say well off. That's right. Yes. If you're from a wealthy family, but I think even people from wealthy families, or they're still working hard and they're still you sort of wonder what is it that motivates them. I think it's not just money. It's also just this desire to be out there and make a presence and make yourself known in the world. So yeah, I mean, hard work cannot be understated. But it's also important to note that it's not just hard work that makes you successful sometimes, because that can be quite demotivating if you say to someone that doesn't earn that much money that it's only hard work that gets you somewhere, that might be quite demoralizing. So it's about hard work, it's about intelligence, making the right decisions, and also, like I say, collaboration. If you've got really good social skills, you can collaborate with people that can just lead you on to more. It creates a narrative of your story, and if you're just focusing on one narrative, your own narrative, you might not go anywhere. So yeah, if you can have really good collaborative skills and if you just mix in with people, and a lot of people, a lot of my success in my life, I think, is just from kind of getting to know lots of people and being I like to think I'm quite a gregarious person. I like to try and welcome people into conversation, make them feel comfortable, and I think that it pays well. In return, people are good to you. And in business, a lot of thing about business is just doing what you can to help people. People are going to want to come to you and give you their money for your services or your products.
For example, if I want to be this type of personality, for example, maybe I want to be everyone here, me should be comfortable, everyone should, you know, feel that I am like a family member rather than a external person. So can you direct yourself to become like push maybe change your habits to become the person you want?
Yeah, I think so,
Or is
definitely.
it very difficult, very easy, or like what's the
Well, you are who you are. I think a lot of our personality is coded into our DNA. But your personality is changing all the time. If you're the same person next year, then you're probably doing something wrong. Yeah, your personality should be changing slightly each year, and you can't expect to be Shah Rukh Khan next year. But like because when I think of him, I think of like real charisma and just confidence and things. But it is a process, definitely. It takes a lot of reflection, um, and it just takes a lot of practice as well, and also just being able to turn off a bit of shame in your body sometimes, because sometimes we feel shame when we shouldn't feel shame. Do you know what I mean? Shame is an important emotion. Again, it's something that is coded into our DNA. We're born to feel shame. Um, but I think shame can be really inhibiting and unfair sometimes, and a lot of it comes down to culture as well. I think I love my mum, but she would often shame me as a kid for showing off. And she's like, if we had guests over and if I was being a bit extra talkative, or like before, I thought I was being hilarious, she would say, "Oh, he's just showing off." I thought, oh, and I thought, so I think, okay, showing off is a negative thing, but I think showing off, if you're being entertaining, if you're showing someone a skill that you've developed, it's quite a nice thing to do. But yeah, so you can often feel sometimes just try not to feel shame about things that you've reflected on and think, no, I quite like that about myself. If you're someone that can sing really well, or if you're someone that can, if you can sing quite well, or if you tell funny jokes, or if you make people feel really comfortable, someone's going to find a way to shame you for that. You know, someone might find a way and say that, oh, your voice isn't very good, or they might say that joke isn't funny, or they might say you're just if you make someone feel comfortable, you're just desperate to be liked by people. Even if that's just their opinion, obviously you want to be liked by people. Saying you're desperate to be liked is that's a shame-inducing phrase or way of putting it, isn't it? But as long as you as long as you reflect on that and think, oh, okay, I'm not. That's just who I want to be. I'm just being who I want to be. And as long as you're always just trying being the person that you want to be, um, then you're gonna end up being that person that you want to be, if you know what I mean. So everything takes practice and everything takes skill. You know, you're not going to be the person you want to be today, but you can act as the person you want to be, and you get closer to being that person eventually. Oh, that was fun. It was really good to meet you guys. Mm. Hope I haven't interrupted too much of your math lesson. But, are there any more questions or before I head off?
If any other question will come, then I will send you immediately.
Of course, yes. Send me over.
बस एक मिनट बैठना है अंदर बैठो
Can I ask you?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I
I think I've got a card here.
Because I might want to maybe share the link also. I think we got like photo of that. We can share that.
Yeah, so if I leave this here, you can all take a photo of it. There's mine. Um, oh, actually, that's got my UK number. You're not going to have much joy when I'm in
Oh,
when I'm in India. One second, before you take a picture, I'll write down my Indian number.
Oh, okay.
900 31 868. There you go. But email is also a good way to get in contact with me as well.
sorry. Your email.
My email's on there as well. It's quite easy actually. Just nick@meridian.org. ORG. Do you guys say org or org?
Or
When it's
whatever works.
you say .org, because a lot of my colleagues say .org. Oh, and also I notice I say it different. I say at. You guys say at the rate, right? Yes. At the rate. This is very mathematical. Yeah. Yeah.
Put it in our
Yeah. Mm.
live in India.
Mm. I live in Vaishali Nagar only.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's nice.
It's very nice. Yeah, so I've been living here for one
How
and a half years.
like Jaipur? How do you
Um,
feel?
I feel it's slightly more chaotic than my hometown, but not that much more chaotic. I think it's the
What is your
my
hometown?
hometown is Slough in the UK. It's just outside of London.
Oh,
So I feel quite grateful for my upbringing in Slough. So my town is
it's near.
yeah, it's about half an hour from Luton. Yeah, it's quite close. So my town is it's known as Immigration Town. There was actually a TV show about there was a panorama like they call it like a documentary about my town called and they called it Immigration Town because it is mostly populated by immigrants. And so my parents are British, so as a white British person in my town, I was only about 7%. I represented 7% of my town, so I was kind of a minority, but also I was in my own country. And some people complain about that, but I just think I could. I mean, there were times in my childhood where I thought I just don't quite relate to people in my town as much as maybe my cousins in a different town and things. But you eventually just learn to you can either complain about it or you can embrace it. And so I feel really grateful to have been brought up in my hometown because I had heavy influence, Pakistani influence, heavy Caribbean and African influence, a lot of Polish, lot of different European influences as well. And I think most people in the UK will just be experiencing the British culture, which is nice, but it's not much diversity in it. And it even got to a stage where when I see something particularly British happening in my town, it'd be like, "Oh, this is exciting! This is like it just felt like something cultural." And so for me, culture was just something that was just always out there, and it wasn't. I could never really identify exactly what was something particularly British or anything like. It was just very mixed, and so I feel super grateful for it. You know, I feel comfortable with lots of different cultures. Um, so I first came to India in 2010 because my sister's married to a guy from Jaipur, and so we came here to they had a wedding, and I met the family that way, and that was a real culture shock because it was so interesting to me, sort of, because people were staring at me like, and and I and I'd be looking back at them thinking like, oh, this looks like Arvin from school.
Pretty awkward.
So I look at them like they're normal, and they're looking at me like, what? And and I did have a culture shock. I think the first culture shock I remember was just seeing a dog at the airport. It was a stray dog. I was like, oh, I have dogs. So I didn't expect that. You don't get stray dogs in anywhere in Europe really.
You were like in England, very clean road.
And
Here,
and then we got to the roads. Yes, it felt like Armageddon. It was like it's like
Sophisticated.
it's like we're all yeah,
my parents,
yeah, always honking, but just for the sake of it.
they were
Indian
US.
drivers can drive
Right.
anywhere.
No, well, it's, I think honking in India is like, I'm here, I don't want to kill you. Whereas honking in England is, no, I will kill you. Yeah, it's like they honk out of anger, and here you honk out of just politeness, maybe. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like, because it's quite common to try, and it's quite hard to master it. But in UK, you might beep if you see your friend, you might go. Um, but here, I don't think that would make a difference here. And I hear beeping every 10 seconds. Yeah, yeah. Nick. Yep, it's on my card. Yep. Yeah, so if you took a picture, it'd be on there. Nick Carey. My Indian equivalent is VJ, because VJ means Nick means victory, it comes from yeah. So I sometimes, if I meet a VJ, I go, "Oh, you're my namesake." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I think that was a really good session. That was really nice to meet you all, and yeah, look forward to meeting you again. I'm sure.